What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trak podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Jared May, the Rook, and I'm joined by Hunter Poole, the Kid. We got the preseason game that just occurred last Saturday at 4 p.m. at AT&T Stadium. So we're going to give you all a good, solid rundown of what we saw. We were able to watch the game down there in the 361 in Corpus Christi.
Sure.
So we're going to give you all a good rundown of what we saw in the preseason, what we liked, what we maybe disliked, and then maybe cover some of the – we're going to cover some of the Zack Martin contract details as well. But, yeah, just kind of a general rundown. Not too much going on, obviously, but the preseason, it's football season technically. We're going to covering that. We're going to be hammering that. But as usual, a little checkup. The Kid, how's everything going?
It's going pretty good. Just started the fast this week and, just trying to clear out the body, trying to be as strong as I can as a man. And you don't know what's going to happen in the next few months with what's going on with the world, Trump indictment, RICO charges, all that stuff. So, you got to stay 10 toes down just in case something hits the fan. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, that's right. We got to stay vigilant at all times. Yes. But yeah, the fasting is like an interesting thing too, because we both kind of were like, I kind of realized I fast for 18 hours every day. So I was like, well, that's actually pretty good. So I don't eat till like 1 o'clock every day, and I might try and push that like you're doing to like 6 or 7. But it feels healthy because I like being hungry most of the day. Because if I eat a bunch, when I'm starving, I shut down. Like I'm just I don't want to move. I don't want to work out.
I ate on Sunday. I ate my last meal at like 8:30. It was just chicken straight up, and then didn't eat until 7:30 yesterday. I had water, coffee, kind of, and I love to eat. So the whole time, all day, I'm just thinking about food. I'm like, when is 7:30 gonna come? When is I just want some food. So I ate a big bowl of chicken salad, and then today, I've just been drinking water, drank a full pot of coffee.
Coffee?
At, let's see, 2:30, I ate some more chicken. So then having the last meal after this, and then, I don't know, I might do another 24, no food.
This dude said, what's the correct measurement for coffee? I was like, I don't know, I guess one single cup and just the water out. He's like, how much water should I put in the thing? I was like, I guess until it says max fill.
I was a coffee maker from like
the Stone Ages.
Yeah, I was like, it wasn't a Keurig or anything like that. That was like old school, like Guffey kind of pot. And it was, I made some yesterday, and it was absolutely dog shit. I'm just drinking this shit straight up blacked, no homo. And
yeah. Well, a little quick rundown of this past weekend as well. The Rook was able to come down to the 361 down there to Corpus Christi, where, like I mentioned earlier, we were able to watch the preseason game, but did a lot of bowling too. We were able to do a lot of shop talk, garage talk, if you will. A lot of philosophical and psychological talking and catching up, meeting his family. So it was good to reconnect. That's a haul down there from where I'm at, though. I mean, that's 4 hours of just pedal to the metal, 85 plus miles an hour.
I was always trying to tell you, I was like, man, that drive is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah. But sooner or later, you'll be up here in the 832, and we'll be able to get rolling. Yo. So, all right, well, let's get into the preseason game. So we played the Jaguars in the afternoon last Saturday. Jaguars started their ones, so Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley and ETN all came out. Dallas has a different philosophy. McCarthy kind of mentioned this earlier, that he's very confident that he doesn't want to start his ones on either side of the ball because he's confident in what they do in practice and whatnot. So we saw a different kind of lineup come out, which is typical for the Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't say just Mike McCarthy does it. I feel like that, at least for the last, obviously since McCarthy has taken over, but I feel like that's common for us, and probably why we go 0-3 or 4 the preseason every year. But
yeah, we usually have the worst. I would say if they did a stat with like the worst like preseason teams the last 10 years, we're definitely top 5. I don't think we ever.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, it's like, oh, we're 0-3 in the preseason, but we win 10 plus games or whatever the last, 3 or 4 years. And you're like, okay. But yeah, so let's start with the defense because that's where the game did start for us. And we had, of course, Mozzie hopped out of there. He was in the interior. You had a different linebacker group. Um, there's some dudes I never even heard of that I didn't even know were on the roster that were, at cornerback in the secondary. They opened up the game with the screen pass to Christian Kirk, and then next play of the game, Lawrence scrambles opposite shoulder to his left and throws a dart to the sideline where Juan John Thomas, number 30 for the Dallas Cowboys, intercepts the ball. And so I guess we can start with our secondary analysis here. Who is Juan John Thomas? Rhetorical question. And what do we expect to see from the young guys? I mean, we saw a lot of reps from Darren Bland. He looked pretty good outside. What did you think?
Yeah, even though he was, last year he played, second corner to Trayvon Diggs. This year he's going to be more in the slot. But, for the preseason, with all the younger guys also in the secondary needing reps, played a lot of outside. And then that one play where they threw a deep ball to, it was like either, I think it might have been Zay Jones.
Might have been, I think so. I know the play you're talking about.
And, it looked like, when you first look at it, you're like, damn, he got beat. And then you look at it again, it's like, oh, wait, he actually used the sideline as his, as defense to make sure this guy had no room to actually put his feet in. So it looked like he was burned off the line. But even though he's not going to play the outside corner, he's one of those guys who's second-year player, needs to get on the field, needs to get those reps because even though he is going to be playing slot, does not mean that an injury to our corners could happen. Get those reps in, especially with Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley playing three drives. It was
almost the whole first quarter, I believe.
Yeah, and then even with that, I will say one thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars: that Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence duo is going to be very nice.
It's going to work. It's going to work. It looks like
for fantasy and all that, like position wide receiver off the line, can create separation. He hasn't really seen that, but I thought the corners, for the most part, besides that one play towards the end where the quarterback broke 70,000 tackles, lobbed it up. And I wanted to ask you, which linebacker really stood out to you?
I'm glad you asked that. Hey, it's tough because I loved DeMarvion Overshawn's performance because I loved his high motor, his speed, his sideline to sideline awareness, and ability to just get there and make a formed tackle sideline to sideline. So that really impressed me. But honestly, what topped him a little bit, in my opinion, was Damon Clark. Damon Clark was all over the place. I mean, it was like we had an African-American Sean Lee running around, a young Sean Lee running around. And I was like, this guy could be the real deal. And I was thinking to myself, okay, Damon Clark has made the next step. I've heard some hype about him over the offseason. He's one of those guys that we consider a steal in the draft when we got him in the 4th round after I think it was a spinal cord injury. But he was a very dominating factor in LSU while he was playing linebacker. And so first year, we kind of don't see him for the first half of the season. He gets planted in near the back end and pause. And so he's able to get some reps last year, which really helped. And what it really did, what surprised me, because I had high hopes for Jabril Cox, was it just put him aside. I mean, he was basically a shade on the picture. And Damon Clark stole the show. He stole the show. I was so enthusiastic to see our linebacker cores sprinting with sub 4.6 speed, all over the place, sideline to sideline, in coverage, downhill. DeMarvion Overshown, when Tank Bigsby, I believe it was Tank Bigsby, took that rush up the middle, up the left. I think the right behind the guard and the tackle. Yeah, in like a third and short yardage situation. Came downhill and just planted the running back and stopped him in his tracks. And I kind of was, we were in the pool watching it, and I kind of stood up and I was like, okay, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. That is high speed, downhill football. And that's what you're going to need when you play juggernaut teams like the 49ers or, the Eagles, who have three very serviceable running backs, because we're hearing Wayne Gallman's probably going to get the starting reps so far.
Yeah. With the Damon Clark, I think he's going to be a big factor. And, Dallas over the last few years has had, a little bit trouble with those more mobile quarterbacks and all that. I think with someone like Damon Clark, you got Van Der Esch kind of quarterbacking the defense. You're going to do this. I think Damon Clark's going to be playing a lot of QB spy when we play like Jalen Hurts. We played Josh Allen. We played Daniel Jones twice, Jalen Hurts. All those guys, I think with his speed and his ball awareness and, he's just like a magnet to the football. So him, being a linebacker too, playing a QB spy to stop these RPOs and, quarterback when they're, deciding to try to go get a first with their legs. I think he's going to come up very big with that. And I think it's just another fantastic piece for Dan Quinn's defense in his system.
I do want to make a distinction here that reminded me of suck Jalen Smith. I'm talking the swipe era. DeMarvion Overshown reminded me of somebody with that kind of sideline to sideline speed and that kind of downhill power and blitzing capabilities, which is something he was popular for and drafted for primarily when we got him in the third round. However, he's probably a lot more intelligent when it comes to IQ of the game, counters, traps, powers, reading the offensive guard and reading your keys and making an intelligent tackle. Just for counter plays that Jalen Smith had no idea. I mean, he's going 8 yards opposite direction, and then it was just awful to watch. And so Dummer Everson showed a lot of great signs in this game. But, obviously we wanted to see how Mozzie Smith was when he walked out into the field and, how he planted inside. And, I think he was still using that 4-point stance. But did you like what you saw out of Mozzie Smith in that first preseason game?
Yeah, he was going against the starting offensive line to start off the game for those first couple of series. And even though Jacksonville is not known to have a good line, just kind of, it's a good that your first preseason game as a D lineman, you're going against the first team. And then when the second team came in, that's where you started to kind of see, we have to kind of double this guy. Yeah. And Mozzie Smith, for what our defense is already and how good it is, he's not going to have the most, fantastic stats. He's not going to get defensive rookie of the year rookie of the year. He's going to be one of those guys where you don't realize how valuable he is until you see it with your own eyes. He's going to be clogging up the middle
until he's gone. Yeah.
So it's like you want to double team him, or you want to take, like, only a few centers are probably able to actually handle him one-on-one without even hedging or all that. But you kind of have to take a sacrifice, because if you do double team him, then you have Sam Williams, Micah Parsons, you have D-Law, all those guys, Dante Fowler Jr.
Sleeper guy there. Yeah. He's a good tool.
All those guys. So with the Mozzie Smith, I'm not looking for his impact for numbers with the Cowboys defense. I'm more looking at it with he's going to make the numbers for everybody else better. And just with that and, clogging up the middle, then open up lanes for if we want to send Damon Clark, like you mentioned, on a blitz, up the middle, free shot, Micah Parsons free shot up the middle, because, even though Micah's going to be playing high, mostly DN, they're going to let him kind of still freelance, kind of
hybrid a little bit.
Yeah, just let him. It's like when you're capable of doing that, just kind of let him do whatever. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to see this defense in full action against a real team with the guys we mentioned, Overshone, Damon Clark, Deron Bland in the slant or in the slot, and then Mozzie Smith clogging up the middle and letting everybody else kind of do their thing.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, especially to kind of summarize it. Demasi Smith's stat lines are not going to show when it comes to sacks or maybe a little bit of tackles for loss, but the stat lines aren't going to show for him. It's going to be his impact and his value that's going to show over his statistics. So that's very important. And we saw, even the impact that even Jonathan Hankins had when we traded for him or picked him or acquired him last season. We were like, okay, now we get this freak of an athlete in there, so it'll be, I think it'll make a demonstrative difference this upcoming season, especially in the run game. And he made a couple plays, 3 or 4 tackles, one, I think, behind the line of scrimmage. So he's already plugging away, and that's good signs. And, the more reps he gets, the better he gets.
Yeah. So, and there was also a few guys on the offensive side. We've had Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, we had Deuce Vaughn, we had also the running backs, Malik Davis, and then Rico. Which one of those guys that I just mentioned really stood out to you for the Cowboys?
Out of all the 3 running backs, am I allowed to get into Deuce Vaughn?
Any of the guys I just mentioned, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn. You can even go with someone I didn't mention, Will Grier, Cooper Rush. Which guy on the offensive side really kind of caught your eye and let you know that they might be something?
Well, I'm going to allow you to talk about Jake Ferguson after I talk about Jalen Tolbert. This is one of the guys that we heavily criticized in the previous pod, obviously, jokingly, because we wanted him to line up in the right spot and whatnot. But, all that work that he had portrayed out to the media in the offseason about him working out, him getting in shape, and him working with Dak to make sure that, their connectivity was flowing in the right direction. And we got to see him go out there with Cooper Rush, and he caught a touchdown pass and I think 2 or maybe 1 or 2 other passes besides that. And he looked solid, man. It was something that you wanted to see. You want him to be the eye opener. You want him to, when he's out there, obviously, since we're not playing Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb, he's that next guy in line. Not Jalen Brooks, who's had a great camp, by the way. He's our 7th round pick out of South Carolina. This guy is that number 1 when we go out there in the preseason. So he needs to step up and he needs to be separated from the rest. And I believe he did a really good job of doing so. He had a crisp route. I think the defense was kind of expecting maybe a 5-yard hitch like we did in the past. And I think whether it was a hybrid route where it could have been a hitch or a little delayed slant, it worked out in his favor. And, right after the preseason game, he's in the training camp practice and he's making toe tap catches where he's complete. There was an amazing catch. You can see it on Twitter. I think John Machota posted it. Momentum going forward, plants his 2 feet on the back end of the goal line of the end zone, and completely plants his feet and lays on his butt. And I was like, okay, that's a very, very impressive catch. High pointing the ball. So we're seeing some very excellent signs from Jalen Tolbert, and I'm highly encouraged that maybe a little criticism makes him a little bit more highly competitive, but. I want to hear you talk about who, piqued your interest on the offense. I'm assuming it's a guy like Jake Ferguson. If it's someone else, surprise me, but let's hear your take.
Well, I like Jake Ferguson because he's white.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jake Ferguson, we saw little glimpses of him last year. Just those, 5 good plays he had last year. It's like, wow, this guy is something we haven't seen since Martellus Bennett of the old Cowboys, which is an athletic tight end. And when you watch him play, he almost exactly plays like a Kelsey. And, there's that one where his last catch that he had where he runs a little, delayed streak fade.
Like a tight end hot seam sort of route.
Kind of. And Cooper Rush throws it to him. It's a little back shoulder kind of thing, and he just goes up and snags it. And you're just looking at it, and you're like, okay, we saw the hurdle last year. We've seen him with the
couple jukes. Yeah.
We seen it. We put him in bubble wrap. We got it, and that was against a number one defense as well.
Yeah.
And with Jake Ferguson, he's really the main factor of what can make the Cowboys an electric offense or just a really good offense. He's the biggest factor. And the reason why I say that is because if Jake Ferguson is what we think he is, he's going to be having demand to where you have to bring a safety down to cover him. That's what makes it hard to when we go against the 49ers, because we have to bring down players to go do that. So then with Jake Ferguson, if he's able, where he's like, you have to guard this man. He's like a Kelsey, Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Bring the safety down. That opens up the field for CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, who are deep ball, especially Brandon Cooks, who just find the seam, and Dak's able to hit him on a long ball with his arm, which also helps out Michael Gallup, who's a jump ball kind of guy, opens up to where it might be one-on-one on the outside where, Dak throws it to Gallup and it's, go get it yourself, make a play.
Yeah.
Gallup's kind of bread and butter. So with Jake Ferguson, I'm definitely dropping him in fantasy. I'm not going to lie. I've seen it. If he stays healthy, he will be the real deal, and it will open up so much more to this offense than we've seen in the past, because there's only a few tight ends in this league who play like the Kittles, the Kelseys, and Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And even Darren Wallers. We might have our own little 87 out there. We
might.
Just the way he looks. And even you've heard Travis Kelce mention it too. He loves this guy. And I see it. You said you've seen it. Everyone's seen it. Now we just put that in a 16-game season. Watch out for those Cowboys offense, and watch out for CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup as well.
Yeah. I want to explain it metaphorically to kind of how I anticipate it. You imagine you get a new 2023 Ford Raptor that's not having parking brake issues, but just this really nice truck, and you got the keys to ignition, and that's Dak. And you got the gas in the pedal. That's your 1 and 2 wide receiver. That's your CeeDee Lamb. That's your Brandon Cooks. Then you got sport mode. Not every truck has the sport mode, but this one does. And that sport mode is Jake Ferguson. He's that extra accessory that, like you said, brings down a safety and opens up the deep ball passes in the deep passing game, which everyone knows that'll be awesome because Dak is a great deep ball thrower in his career. So hopefully it'll open up some avenues and make his job a little bit easier. So excellent. And let's go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying the one more thing with, a tight end that's athletic and can get open. They're the most OP weapon on the offense, because there's nobody on the field you can't put a corner on a tight end that's athletic, because they'll just body them off the line. So then now you have, not every safety knows how to play man coverage off the line. So, if we have that, and maybe there'll be some games where he has 9 catches, 10 catches. But then you'll see where it's like, oh, here comes Brandon Cooks over the top going towards back corner of the end zone. It's, oh, man, I cannot wait. After seeing the Jake Ferguson, couple of drives he had, I'm sold on him.
Yeah, it makes you want to. Yeah, so, well, obviously the center of attention, I think, that caught and attracted everybody's eyes, almost like if Margot Robbie was walking down the street, was Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn was out there putting dudes in spin cycles, juking left and right, hitting the headsies and cross tweens. And, 8 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. His touchdown was a goal line run, which was impressive. He had a couple that 10-plus yarder where Simi Fehoko would have made the block. Maybe could have gashed it for a couple extra more yards, or even a house call. What are your thoughts on Deuce Vaughn? I know we kind of discussed his role a little bit in the previous podcast, and I don't really expect our analysis to change on that. But do you feel like he truly was a steal in the draft? I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but do you think he went 5 rounds too late? 6 rounds too late?
So I'm going to say 2 things, and then I just talked for a little bit, so I'll let you take the rest of it. A couple things I'll say about Deuce Vaughn. One, for his size and what he was doing against the backups was very impressive.
Yeah.
You see the speed and the playmaking is there. Now, does that mean he'll be, our backup running back or, I don't want to speak on it too early, but I do know one thing for sure. He does need to be on special teams, and that probably needs to be kickoff. I would say to make Turpin, even though he's fantastic on kickoff, and I know he had the muff punt last game, you put Turpin on punt returns, and then you have Deuce Vaughn on kickoffs. Both kind of fresh legs. More opportunity for a big play because they both have big play capability on special teams. And with running back, I'm not too sure because he was going against backups. Those
True.
are two I would say, and I want you to take the floor on that.
Yeah, I think everybody was curious to see how Deuce Vaughn would, outside of camp, obviously handle NFL opponents. And yeah, granted, he did go against the backups and kind of the bottom tier portions of the roster with the Jaguars. However, so was the offensive line. You gotta. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the guy looks solid, and it's very tough. We've seen the moves, All-American and in the Big 12, and that translated pretty well, I thought, into the NFL in that preseason game against, those rostered players. And, seeing him with that low center of gravity, being able to shift left and right faster than somebody like, Derrick Henry especially, or even Christian McCaffrey, those guys that are, bulkier, but obviously they're not 5'5". Plus, Jacob, the medical guy, made an excellent point. When you're seeing him at the line, you can't see him until he may be 3 or 4 yards down the field, and then the second level's got to break down and stop his elusiveness. So it could be a very powerful tool. We might, I agree, implement him in special teams in that first year, and if we need to give him a couple reps. I thought Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis did a fine job. Dowdle's a sleeper. Dowdle's a guy that last year was hurt all year. And, the year prior, 2 years ago, they actually had pretty decently high hopes for him. He's going to be running back 3 on the roster. Easy plug-in, kind of a larger back compared to Malik Davis. It's kind of a gasher. Kind of looks like Isaiah Pacheco a little bit. But, we'll see. I think that's a good little rotation. Obviously, Ronald Jones, I don't think he'll even make the 53-man roster. But it's good to have that accessorized tool like Deuce Vaughn in there. They can make a pop play, and having Kevontae Turpin, who's way more effective probably on punt return because they're practically eliminating kickoff from the game. Having him who, took those 2 punt returns and almost 3 or 4 last year, in that second year, is going to be really exciting.
I will say one thing about Deuce Vaughn. I would love to see him take a sweep behind Tyler Smith and Tyron Smith, and he just falls behind them, and he's just like, all low on the ground. You can't see him, and they're like, where the fuck is he? And then you just, the big Trojan of Tyron Smith just deplummet a cornerback, and then he's just gone because he has that breakaway speed, which is what would make him effective on the kickoff returns.
Yeah, and it'd be cool to have Gus Johnson come in and commentate a game, and he's got running away from the cop speed.
Hot dogs, mustard,
hot dogs, mustard, pickles.
Oh man, what a
tailgates. Yeah. Well, let's get into our Mamas Don't Let You Cowboys segment, and then we'll move into some Zack Martin talk. But obviously, we talked about it in the last podcast a little bit of what Mamas Don't Let You Cowboys is. It's kind of like a representation of what the Cowboys shouldn't do or allowed to do, what we advise them against. This is obviously it's taken from Cody Johnson at the awards show that he was singing at. That he said, "Mamas don't let your Cowboys grow up to be babies," from the famous Willie Nelson song. And this is actually, I think Cody Johnson mentioned this in the podcast I listened to. It's actually an adaptation of I can't remember who it was, but it's a country artist from Willie Nelson's time that kind of adapted that, and he borrowed it as well, which it was a grand hit. So anyway, we created a Cowboys segment that's a replica of that. So without further ado, Hunter, I'll let you have the first headline of Mamas Don't Let Your Cowboys. So take it away.
All right, mamas, do not let your Cowboys let Micah Parsons play this preseason, even though I know he's dying to play. He got kicked in the leg today, and they had to put a little leg thing on him. He's going to be okay, but just little things like that.
Yeah.
Let's stay away from that.
I agree.
Mamas, don't let your Cowboys get injured on the offensive line, because after watching those twos and backups, I'm not going to call them dog shit because I'm not going to be mean, but you could definitely tell the Cowboys starting line between their backups. It's night and day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about he was going like 2,000% in practice, Parsons was. And so it's like, all right, maybe this is a little like, relax a little bit. You know, we know you want to, you know, eat the whole, the, whatever it's called, eat the little gazelle running across the safari as a lion, but it'll be all right. Or the hyena, that's the word I was searching for. But so go ahead, sorry.
I'll say one more. Mamas, do not let your Cowboys find a gym and Jake Ferguson being a missing piece, because the Cowboys will be, I'm telling you, an offense that will put efficient points on the board every week. And don't let the Cowboys find little gyms like that. They already, done a couple of things. Just don't let them.
Don't let them get hot. And that kind of ties in with mine. You know, mamas, don't let your Cowboys let Luke Schoonmaker start at tight end. You know, and mamas, don't let your Cowboys be aired live on their second round pick. They're gonna do that live, like you're in the draft room from this previous season. The Cowboys are featured. They better not have that second round pick live in there, because I do not even want to hear what went through their mind when they drafted him instead of a guard, because we saw in the preseason game, obviously, that Cooper Rush had about 0.5 seconds to throw, you know, to start the game.
For someone who's, been in this league for a little bit, to where, it's like he's always going to play in the preseason, but, he's actually playing the real NFL games. He has like 6 real NFL games under his belt. That dude was taking an ass whooping out there. And I'd have been like, darn it, Will Grier, bro. I was like, I controlled the ship when Dak was gone last year. I did not deserve to get this ass whooping I'm taking with this line. Will Grier, go out there. It's your time. I've proven enough to be a, respected backup on this team.
Yeah. Yep. So, mamas, don't let your Cowboys let Luke Schoonmaker start at tight end. Let's get into our miniature deluxe tracks. We're gonna have 2 headlines each. These are headlines with political entertainment and general news. I'll go first on this one. My deluxe track headlines is I wanted to talk a little bit about the fires in Maui. We wanted to say that our prayers go out to all the pain and suffering that's going on in there, because it is just, one could say, out of this world. And I have my thoughts and conspiracies on what maybe is going on there, and the fire patterns look a bit odd. And top celebrity houses like Oprah and Bill Gates, their houses are untouched. They were battling with some big media corporations about the real estate in that area. Firefighters didn't respond in time, or didn't respond at all. They were saying they're out of water. All this junk. We don't even know what the death count is. I read a very, very bad estimate on Twitter that I don't know is true, so I'm not going to talk about it, but it was pretty devastating. And then for my second deluxe track, I want to shout out the Texas Rangers. Jonah Heim returned to the lineup as the AL West race continues. We were able to acquire a 3.5-4 game lead on the Rangers on the Astros once they caught up to us. So it was good to kind of get a little bit of that lead back. Maybe it'll probably get closer. We got a little easy of a schedule the past couple of 2 weeks. We're 10-2 in our last 12 games. So it's good to have Jonah Heim back in the lineup, one of the rare catchers in the league that can actually, maybe hit 20 plus bombs and 80 RBIs or 80 plus RBIs with a 280, 270 plus, average. A lot of the catchers in the league now are sub 200. So welcome back, Jonah Heim. Then the kid, your deluxe tracks.
Before I say that, I just want to comment. Prayers to Maui and all those victims and victims' families and all that. And number 2 to do on that is fuck Oprah.
Respect.
Oprah. I haven't liked Oprah for years. I don't even care. Whatever. Fuck
Man,
Oprah.
fuck Bill Gates too, mostly.
Fuck him. Fuck Oprah. Bad, just corrupted bad people. And also with the Rangers, Max Scherzer had 11 strikeouts yesterday. He looked pretty good as y'all smoked the Angels. Getting a little worried, we lost to the Marlins yesterday. But even though we lost to the Marlins, Michael Brantley starts rehab training. Started today. Don't let the Astros get him in shape before October because we're missing a couple of things. And even though Altuve went out with injury today, Astros still have enough time to where they can get something going. And Trump has until August 25th to surrender on RICO charges. For those who don't know what RICO is, that's basically organized crimes, organized group creating crimes. That could be murders, robberies. They're like rob a bank, rob the election. So for people to think that, Trump's gone all these years without getting a RICO charge, how powerful he is, and then now all of a sudden, he's in organized criminal activity.
Yeah.
Y'all do your own research on that, and just, always the timing with these things is just kind of doesn't seem right. So even though he's at the 25th, like I said, a RICO charge, if you don't know what RICO is, go look it up, and you'll see that just fishy. But yeah, those will be my deluxe tracks. Michael Brantley starts rehab training today, and Trump has until 25th to surrender from RICO charges.
Are you going to turn him in?
No.
No? All right, well, let's move on into Zack Martin, and then we'll close out with our track record of the week. Finally, we were able to get Zack Martin restructured on kind of a fully guaranteed deal. And so per Adam Schefter here, I'll read his tweet to kind of give you all the rundown. Cowboys and all-pro guard team captain Zack Martin reached an agreement on a rework deal per sources. The new deal will pay him north of $18 million in each of the next 2 years. Martin was scheduled to be at $13.5 million this year and $14 next year. So it's an additional $8.5 million per year. Both years have also been fully guaranteed. So I've always complained about this with Jared Jones, and he is all about optics. It's all about him. It's all about his ego, and that's a lot. That when he first took over the team, he's the owner that fired Tom Langer. He's the owner that fired Jimmy Johnson. He's the owner that kept Jason Garrett. That hired Ron Marinelli. Sits in the coaches' meetings, in all the schedule release promo videos. He's everywhere. It's Jerry. We got to have Arkansas and A&M play each other, even though it's complete fucking bullshit, because if Arkansas ever played at Kyle Field, you'd know damn well they get routed every single time, because it's not intimidating to go over there and play in Arkansas. I just want to get that out there. Play us at Kyle Field where it's a disadvantage towards you, and we'll play you guys in Arkansas where it's a disadvantage, quote unquote, against us. Let's be real. It's a marketing thing. But anyway, that was a little off topic. I had to get that out there. But it's all about optics. He said in training camp, we're not going to pay him. We're going to move on with that. Bullshit you are. You got a quarterback that has had some injury problems over the past couple of years because of protection, whether you want to argue what rank there are. But, they're cycling left and right tackles. They're swinging Tyron spit to the right side. He has less holding calls than he does Pro Bowl appearances. Sign the dude. Give him exactly what he wants. So Jerry finally caved in. But I want to know your thoughts on a fully guaranteed deal for a guy like Zack Martin and a central piece, in our offense, and your general overall, overview of your rundown of the Zack Martin situation.
Well, anybody who watches the Cowboys wanted the Cowboys to re-sign Zack Martin. There was nothing that ever shown that he's declining. He's always available, which is the biggest thing with offensive linemen. Like you said, he has more all pros and holding calls. He had one this year where against the Giants on Thanksgiving where they said he had a holding, but they never even showed the actual play because
Yeah.
they were like, it was just not there. And with Jerry Jones, I said, it's like he is all about himself. What he said was not true about he wasn't going to sign him, right? But he also couldn't say if he could not get a deal with him, which everyone knew was going to happen. It's like, what if he's like, oh, we need him, we need Zack Martin, and then we can't sign him? Then we're having to have this guard to where it's like, wow, so now we can't win because we don't have Zack Martin. You just said that we need him. What's wrong with me kind of deal. It's all about just kind of, I don't know, keeping it all together. But I don't agree with Jerry Jones. I'm just kind of looking at it from a different perspective in a way. And if you think about what he said, imagine if we would have drafted a guard. I can't imagine. He would have probably said some more bizarre shit than you could probably think of. He'd been like,
it's a good point.
By name that we have this guy to take over for him.
Yeah.
Luckily,
we have Osiris or whatever his name is from the University of Florida, so we're fine. We don't need you.
Yeah, he would have said the man's name, or he would have said the players by names. Like we got him. We don't need this drama in there.
I saw this coming, so I drafted him in the second round. Look at me, I'm a smart owner. I knew what Zach was going to do before the season even started. I'm a smart guy. That's why I haven't won a championship in 30 years.
Also, like I said, I don't see anything. These players see how coaches, or organizations, I should say, are treating the players with money, especially in the running backs. Some quarterbacks are having a little bit of issues. It's becoming a lot harder to sign players and positions. I don't see anything wrong with taking the guaranteed money from, I think it's the smartest move. We talked about it off camera with Kirk Cousins. Look at Kirk Cousins. All he did was take short-term, fully guaranteed deals, and he has like $400 million.
Right.
Like, doesn't matter. Yeah, only if you're getting, because once you might get paid like 25 a year. Like to say a deal, 25 a year, but it's not fully guaranteed. They can get out of that contract like year 1 or 2, and after that, then you're just like, you don't get that fully guaranteed because you got the money up front. When in reality, you can take fully guaranteed contracts, keep betting on yourself, and then once you get one fully guaranteed contract, they're probably going to keep giving you more if you earned it.
Yeah.
So, smart business move for Dallas and for Zack Martin. Both of them get what they want. Zack Martin gets paid more. Cowboys give him fully guaranteed, would just affect the cap like it would if it was a by-year kind of deal.
Yeah, and that's a perfect rundown of what's going on. And eventually we'll discuss how a guaranteed contract might benefit a guy like Dak Prescott, on his extension. You mentioned Kirk Cousins was racking up cash money, and he's betting on himself, which is something that Dak really likes to do. And that in the predicament he's in, whether he has a good or great season this year, he could really achieve, and it would be plausible for him. We can discuss more of that later, but yeah, it's common sense to me. It's pretty straight up. Zack Martin needs to be on the team, needs to be paid what he deserves. He's an all-pro almost every year. He's a 99 overall in Madden, whatever. Which that game's tanking right now, by the way.
I heard that game is dog shit.
Yeah,
like
I heard
it's worst Madden ever.
I still have Madden 22. I still have the one with Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes on it. I just update the rosters myself if I want.
They had a pre-order. They had a pre-order Josh Allen if you ordered the game for my team or whatever, and it was an 83 overall Josh Allen.
Oh God!
That's what you're giving people now, an 80.
Okay, think about this. When has Josh Allen ever been an 83 overall?
Exactly. Probably he hasn't been an 83 overall since he beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
That was terrible.
That was probably the first time they put him over 80 overall. I bet you they upgraded him by like 5 slots that game.
Was that 2019?
Yes, it was.
Oh god, that was like the worst year. You never knew what Dallas Cowboys team you were going to get. That's when Mitchell Trubisky looked like Lamar Jackson against us.
Yeah, that was dog shit.
Well, let's move on into our track records of the week. I'll let you start off with this one. These are our lyrics, artists, or songs we want to highlight each week. So, yeah, take it away. Give us your track record of the week.
So my track record of the week, it's not really a song unless you put music behind it. It's actually a David Goggins tweet or a quote by David Goggins.
Okay.
And
Little lyric.
It's from a TikTok, and what he says is, if you ever seen a David Goggins video, he has his wife or his fiance, whatever you want to call her, film him, running in the car saying shit. So there's one, and he tells the camera, when your plan has gone to shit, and there's nothing that you can do, everything's fucked up. You only have one mother effing option, and that's stay fucking hard.
There's no way to go around the explicitness on that one.
Yeah, I was trying so much. But I was
Here, just do it again and do exactly what he says.
He's like, when your plan's gone to shit and everything's all fucked up and you have no motherfucking options, you have one motherfucking thing to do. Stay fucking hard. That is my track record of the week. Just a David Goggins quote, just because, when everything, seems to be all messed up and everything, or something's not taking as long as you want, be a rhinoceros, a rhino, and, bulldoze it and, stay hard and, keep moving forward, basically.
Yeah, take that Viagra and get to work.
Yes, sir.
Stay hard, baby. That's a massive quote. Dude, David Goggins is probably close to one of the most influential people on the planet. Obviously, you can argue there's some other guys, but that dude knows how to get you motivated or really disciplined as well. Mine is actually, it's an artist in the country realm, and he just came out with a song. He's got 3 songs in the top 10. It's this one that I'm highlighting is number 1. And it's Oliver Anthony, his song Richmond of North Richmond. And so I had a buddy send this to me when I was playing Xbox one night after work. I was just chilling. He's like, hey, check the song out. And, the guy just texts me every day. He's one of those guys, I don't talk to him every day. And he sent me that, so I started listening to it. And it's a protestive song kind of about those rich men in Richmond that were, that are kind of like the higher elites that basically say, you're not built to just make money and die. You have a higher purpose, and it's complete BS what's going on, this rat race. And so if you haven't checked it already, I highly recommend you guys go check out, that song. He's got 2 others that are good as well. I'm not sure what the names of them are. It's all over Twitter. It's all over iTunes. So go check out Oliver Anthony's track, Richmond of North Richmond. But yeah, so that wraps up our episode this week. Of course, next week we're going to have another preseason rundown until, of course, week 1. Well, I'm sure we'll have the medical guy and the analyst back in the studio. Maybe we'll be in the same place, and by that time we'll have the studio in person. We never know. So there'll be a transition somewhere during the season. We'll also might have the first fantasy football press conference. It's still under debate whether at the end of this month or the end of next month. I'm assuming it'll be the end of September when our first press conference is, but we might do a little introductory one with the contributors. That'll be fun. So our league is set. You'll see a lot more fantasy football engagement going forward when the regular season starts, and you'll kind of get to see the ins and outs of specific members of that league. Currently, the track, this is by actually, we randomized it 3 times, just real quick. We've got, what is it? 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7, the kid. 8, the rook.
10. I'm 10.
I'm sorry. 7 is the analyst. 8 is the rook. 9 is the medical guy, and kid wraps it up at 10. So we got track pod 1, 2, 3, and 4 in our order, or 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excuse me. So anyway, follow us on Instagram at track.pod. You can email us or direct message us for any inquiries. Keep in mind, we'll have some stories out there for Track Central your voice, your opinions. You can be featured. Your questions can be featured on this podcast in the future. And we just have our little a Patreon little crowdfunding thing set up. So we won't advertise that yet. We got a long ways to go. But if you want to go visit the site, visit Patreon / Trackpod. So Hunter, the kid, always a pleasure, brother.
Yes, sir. Nice talking to you. Love to talk shop about Cowboys preseason. Best time ever.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Stay hard, gentlemen.
Stay vigilant. Y'all take it easy.